What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome back to today's tier video where we are going to be venturing into the world of college football. Finally, it's been killing me not being able to do NCAA rebuilds, but as many of you know, I have moved into a new place and I've yet to figure out how I'm going to hook up my Xbox 360 to play some NCAA. So until I get that, I feel like maybe doing some college football type talk videos could be in store to keep diversifying the channel up. And I was originally going to do all like college football prospects. That video went into like 30 some minutes, so I figure why not just start here with the quarterbacks and how I'm going to rank them. It's about 70, we'll say 70-30. 70% is these rankings going to be based upon what they're going to bring to college football. The rest 30% is like, are they going to be able to translate and transition into the National Football League? To give you guys an idea of, you know, for the most part, I got 36 quarterbacks here. Some decent QBs just didn't make the cut. I didn't put in Kentucky's quarterback, and he actually looked pretty good against Florida. A couple other honorable mentions, but I got 36 guys who should be somewhat polarizing at the very least for the upcoming football season. So I like to start these videos out by giving you the parameters for this list. So we will start with Trevor Lawrence in S tier. I said when he was coming out of high school that he could have been like LeBron. If he was able to declare straight from high school, probably would have been, someone would have used a first round pick on him and just, you know, redshirted him until he was able to like get his body up until the NFL level. But I mean, he's a freak of nature. 6'6", probably 210, 215. Last season, 3,300 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he can scramble. He can extend drives with his legs. I mean, there is the negative Nancy's out there like to say, well, Clemson has arguably the best wide receivers in college, which is true. But I mean, we saw with Kelly Bryant, not necessarily everyone can make those plays. So, I mean, he's another guy. Honorable mention, Kelly Bryant didn't make the list, now at Missouri. What is he going to be able to do? QB-friendly kind of offense in the SEC. So I'd probably say, yeah, we maybe got slept on a couple SEC prospects, but shout out to, I can't remember the name of the dude from Kentucky, and Kelly Bryant. So, but we're starting with Trevor Lawrence here at S tier, and then we're putting F tier. You put those two guys, even though they didn't make the list, Kelly Bryant and, what is his name? It's driving me nuts, and I can't remember it. They'll go F, and again, another parameter for F tier. We'll put Brock Purdy here from Iowa State. Saw a little bit of his tape when I was scouting Hakeem Butler a little bit more in depth, because I was a huge fan of Hakeem Butler last year in the college football season. And he's just like an average QB. Probably won't transition to the NFL. 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. Last season, 16 touchdowns to 17 picks, or 16 touchdowns, to 7 picks. He's just your bang on average college starter. You know, might have, you know, I'll give him a ceiling 3 really good games, and for the rest, he's not really going to cost them too much, but you know, he has a very limited ceiling, and those are the kind of guys here that we're going to be putting in F tier. Like we have, you know, a couple guys here for sure that might have some upside, but based upon what I saw last year and the uncertainty about them being able to capitalize and develop into that upside, we'll have to go in F. So first up, we got Jake Bentley from South Carolina. I'm going to put him in S tier. He's a player that if you're looking a couple years ago on mock drafts, they could have had him as a potential first round pick. You know, he has decent size, 6'4", 225 pounds, through his career, 7,400 passing yards, 54 touchdowns to 30 picks. Kind of think of him a little bit like a Jameis Winston. He's a guy that has debatably top 3 wide receiving unit in the SEC. You know, he had Deebo Samuel, second round pick. He got Brian Edwards, really nice playmaker, a couple other guys sprinkled in, and he still does not protect the football and still hasn't really reached appropriate levels, I think, given the weapons that he's had. But he probably will still get drafted day 3 and be a developmental prospect. So because of that, we'll put him right here and just see. Could have some big games though for South Carolina next year. Next up, we have Ian Book from Notre Dame. I'm gonna put him D tier. I don't really think he offers much at the next level. 6 feet tall, probably could even be sub 6 feet tall when they get to the official measurements. 200 pounds. Last season, 3,100 yards, 23 touchdowns to 11 picks. You know, scramble just a little bit. He can win. And I mean, when you're playing for Notre Dame, you have a good run game. They're a run-first team. They usually have a top 5, top 10 offensive line in college football, and he can win. So they have that going for him, but I think he has a limited ceiling, and we one of those guys. I would not be surprised if halfway through next season, Ian Book's not the starter for Notre Dame. He's one of those guys that doesn't really have a whole lot of job security, but we did see him win a couple crucial games for the Fighting Irish last season, so I'm just going to put him here at D tier. Good enough to get him at an F. Next up, we have Charlie Brewer from Baylor. I'm going to put Brewer right here in C tier. One of those QBs that's not getting nearly enough hype. Last season, I mean, he's 6'1", 200 pounds, so the size is slightly below where you want it. Slightly below NFL prototype. in today's NFL anyways. But last season, 4,600 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 600 rushing yards, 7 tutties. I think Matt Rule is one of the best college coaches turning that Baylor program around. I think a guy like Charlie Brewer, not enough people are talking about it. And if we were revising this list halfway through the college football season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Charlie Brewer be a lot more regarded around the football community than he is right now. So right now I'm putting him on C tier. We have Joe Burrow for LSU. I'm putting it at D tier. I mean, we saw last year he can have the occasional big game, which is why he's not going into F, but he ultimately saw why he wasn't cutting it at Ohio State. He's okay quarterback. He's an okay quarterback. I don't know if he'll ever really transition to the National Football League. Decent size, 6'4", 215, but 3,200 passing yards, 18 touchdowns to 5 picks. Yeah, he's a guy that he can win games for LSU, but is he ever going to be the kind of guy that can get LSU back into the SEC championship? Most likely not. And then if you're not, I mean, what are we doing here? You're not going to get much higher than D. We have KJ Costello from Stanford. For right now, I'm putting him at B tier, but if we're doing this halfway through and seeing how he produces for Stanford this upcoming year, he could get himself into A. Decent size. I think we're talking about a player that's 6'5", 215 pounds for his career, 5,100 passing yards, 43 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, but a lot less weapons right now for Stanford. They don't have Bryce Love, no more J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So, given the lack of talent right now, I don't know how well he's going to do, but if he can elevate those guys around him, these guys that are the next core of skill position players for Stanford, if he can make those guys better, I think you can put him into A tier, and you can regard him right now. I think he's probably second, third round prospect, and if he can do that, if he can elevate that Stanford offense, I'm totally buying his stock, and I'm going to put him up here into A tier. But for right now, he's a strong B. We have DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson from UCLA. As a freshman, it was kind of rough. I watched UCLA play a couple times. He wasn't anything special, but then again, getting a complicated Chip Kelly offense for a true freshman quarterback, not usually a winning combination. So the upside is there for him to put it together, but based upon what I saw last year, I mean, he could be one of those guys that might not ever be able to figure out a Chip Kelly offense, and it might not just work out ever. So because of that risk, I'm going to have to put him here at F tier. We have Jacob Eason transferring from Georgia, now the starter in Washington, taking over for Jake Browning. I'm going to put him in B tier. This is that 30% I'm talking about for NFL potential. He is one of these guys that he's really got to be bad not to succeed in the NFL. He'd be one of those guys I think might have a better NFL career than he had a college career, but lots of playmakers for Washington. They got Aaron Fuller at wide receiver, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the nation. That guy's ridiculous. But when you look at Eason, he's a guy that 6'6", 230 pounds in his career, 2,400 passing yards, 16 touchdowns to 8 picks. So not a lot there, but I think he is going into the right scenario. They got Ahmed, too, the running back, very, very fast, one of the quickest running backs in the nation, taking over from Myles Gaskin. They got a lot of weapons there, and I think Eason, if he can compete right away and can have Washington remain contenders in the Pac-12, I mean, he might be one and done and might hop to the NFL for the upcoming draft if he gets that first-round buzz, which is totally a legitimate possibility. We have Sam Ehlinger from Texas. I'm going to put him at B tier. I think we're just ranking this. If this was 100% what these quarterbacks could mean to their teams in college football, he might even be S tier. But he's like a shittier Tim Tebow. He's a guy that's very inconsistent with his passing, can make a great throw, can make a bonehead throw, but he's a leader, he's a fighter. Big mother, a big mother, 6'3", 235, can scramble, has almost 1,000 career rushing yards, almost 20 touchdowns. He's gonna make Texas a legit outside contender for a playoff spot. And is it gonna transition and translate to the NFL? Probably not. He might, if Trace McSorley can get picked up as a quarterback, he might be, a third round flyer. But as far as going to the NFL, that's really affecting where he's going here in my tiers, but still B tier nonetheless. We have Justin Fields transferring from Georgia to Ohio State. I'm gonna have to put him at A tier. And this is probably the biggest gamble for my whole list because there's a lot of unknown. We don't necessarily, he looked pretty good in cleanup duty for Georgia, but the fact that regardless of what happens with no Urban Meyer, Ohio State's always going to be a pretty QB friendly team. And I'm not going to say he's going to get 50 touchdowns like Dwayne Haskins did, but I think over the next 2 years, he's going to establish himself as a legitimate top 10 draft pick. He's just too good to fail unless injuries or something like that catch up to him. The arm talent's ridiculous. He's a tremendous athlete. And I'm banking on everything coming together for Ohio State and Fields being in A tier. I will say I am holding the fact that he got kind of scared away from Georgia by Fromm against him a little bit. He's a fringe B to A, but I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say that Ohio State is going to be just fine with Justin Fields as a QB. Next up, we have Mason Fine. I'm gonna put Mason Fine C tier. He's a fringe C to B. His stats are pretty ridiculous. 9,400 career passing yards, 64 touchdowns, 25 picks for North Texas. It's just his size. He's 5'11", 185 pounds. He's not an athlete like Kyler Murray, so I think he will be kind of limited to being a maybe a late round backup CFL type quarterback. But he's going to be a big time player for North Texas and should have them winning the conference yet again. We have Felipe Franks from the Florida Gators. I'm going to put him C tier. He's getting actually a lot of hype right now. He has NFL size, 6'6", 240 pounds, 39 career passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He's just so inconsistent, very low football IQ. Defenses can confuse him fairly easy. And while he did get a little bit more comfortable in Dan Mullen's offense towards the end of the season, and until proven otherwise, he's going to be C tier with a lot of NFL traits, which would probably get him drafted. But if he has a great year, we come back halfway through the year and he's, they're doing good, and he's giving Florida a chance, we can compete with Georgia. Might be talking about him as a B tier QB. We have Jake Fromm from Georgia. I'm going to put him A tier. I'm not nearly as high on him as a lot of other scouts in the community. I think he's just an okay quarterback. Personally, if I was putting a talent grade on him, he's like a second rounder, like a developmental guy, but he probably will go in the first round, has big game experience, can win. And it's always kind of tough to judge the true talent of a quarterback in Georgia because they just don't throw the ball a whole lot. But from what I've seen from our mechanics, a little bit inconsistent, doesn't have like a huge cannon or anything like that. He's just a solid, okay quarterback for the NFL prospects, but he's a good quarterback for Georgia. He's big, big game experience is going to be huge for them getting out of the SEC and trying to get into the playoffs yet again. So because of that, we'll put him here at A tier. We have Jared Garantano from Tennessee. I'm not going to lie, I'm putting him F tier. I mean, there is some upside there, but every time I've seen him play, give me 4 games, he's been pulled. So, hasn't made the best impression on me. I'm going to put him here at F tier. Justin Hurt from Oregon, he's going S tier. QB1 for me next year. All the things you want in a QB. He has 6'6", 230 pounds, 7,600 career passing yards, 63 touchdowns to 17 picks, 500 career rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. He can scramble. He would have been QB1 last year. Then he wanted to go back to school to Oregon and play with his brother. So maybe that's bonus points, maybe, because he's, good at morals. I don't know what you want to call that. I personally thought it was stupid. He's not going to improve his stock any more than being the number 1 quarterback. But if he stays healthy, he's going to be QB1 for me next season. And has all the traits that you want for an NFL QB. Next up, we have Jalen Hertz. I'm going to have to put Jalen Hertz in C tier. I think if he's going to the NFL, it's going to be positional change. I'm really actually surprised that, Alabama wasn't like, hey, you want to try playing running back? Like, he is powerful, insanely powerful for a QB. I'm going to put him here at C tier, though, just because Lincoln Riley will probably have him be efficient at worst for Oklahoma. But and as far as, going to the NFL, I think, we'll put my money on him transitioning to a running back. JT Daniels for USC. Put him C tier. I mean, he wasn't anything particularly special last year. Had that high school chemistry that carried over to USC with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's an incredible wide receiver prospect. There's more so going to gamble on the fact that he should be able to put it together. And, everything right now bodes well for him to... I mean, USC overrated QBs. Name a more iconic duo. He's probably, in 2 years' time with Trevor Lawrence, he could be the second QB drafted. So that's kind of weighing him being a C instead of a D tier. Upside is very, very high with JT Daniels. De'Aaron King. I'm going to put King in A tier. If Kyler Murray pans out, King could very easily be a first-round caliber quarterback. If not, if Kyler Murray struggles, then, knock him down probably to B tier. But he's going to be ridiculous. He's going to be one of these guys outside of the Big 5 power... No, they're not in Big 5, Power 5. But outside candidate, either way, for a Heisman. He is 5'11", 195 pounds, but last year is a starter. 3,000 passing yards, 36 touchdowns to 6 picks, 650 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns. He's your Lamar Jackson-esque type guy. And I think if Kyler Murray has some success, hey, he could be a first-round quarterback next season in the NFL. We have Brian Lorikeet from Michigan State. I'm going to put him D tier. He's just one of those guys, kind of like Clayton Thorson, who's ironically on the Philadelphia Eagles, that has a lot of NFL traits. I've just never really seen him have a great game. He's probably a fringe D to C tier player, but he was a guy that, kind of like Jake Bentley, had some first-round buzz early last season when we're getting ready to hype up the college football year. Returned to school at Michigan State because he wasn't particularly great. I just think he's an average quarterback that could be, a priority undrafted free agent. Next up, we have Jordan Love from Utah State. I'm going to put him A tier. Again, guy no one's really talking about. Very, very impressed with him. I watched him 4 full games, and I was very, very intrigued. He's 6'4", 225 for his career, 5,200 passing yards, 40 touchdowns to 12 picks. as well as 200 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns for Utah State. He's my low-key sleeper to be a first-round draft pick next season and put it all together for Utah State. Could be an outside Heisman contender, but I mean, limited weapons, limited skill position players at Utah State. Next up, we have Adrian Martinez from Nebraska. I'm going to put him B tier, one of the better young quarterbacks in college football. You got Scott Frost kind of, being the mastermind behind that. So I think he's going to, last year was only the beginning. I think last season, 2,600 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 picks, but also had 8 rushing touchdowns. I think, we got a little bit of a Mackenzie Milton on our hands here. I think he's going to be the guy that can reach those levels and has a little bit more NFL traits than a Mackenzie Milton. We have Cole McDonald from Hawaii. I'm going to put him at B tier. He's a fringe A tier. I was super impressed. I know it's Hawaii, a little bit of a gimmick offense, but last season, Cole McDonald, 6'4", 205, NFL size, 3,900 passing yards, 37 touchdowns to 10 picks, 500 rushing yards. You know what? Screw this. I'm putting him A tier. I loved watching him play, and while maybe his mechanics aren't super clean, I think he's the kind of guy that if he can put up those numbers again for Hawaii, he's a true freshman. So I think he's a true freshman. Put an asterisk there. I think he's a guy that has some NFL developmental traits. Could be a second, third round pick. Next up, we have Mackenzie Milton. Incredibly polarizing because I don't know if he's going to play. I think if he was going to play this upcoming year, he's A tier. Again, you almost throw in that Kyler Murray thing because a guy like Mackenzie Milton is sub 6 feet tall, 5'11", 185. Maybe that if Kyler can blow that mystique that you have to be like 6'1", 6'2", at least 6 feet plus, I mean, he could be drafted. But because of the injury, which was gruesome, I don't know if he's going to play. Because of that, I'm going to reserve him for just a not overhyped B tier. If he can get back and play for UCF, I'm putting him up in A. We have Kellen Mond from Texas A&M, putting him C tier. Another guy, high upside, but for right now, not nearly consistent enough. Steven Montez from Colorado. I'm going to put him C tier. He's a fringe C to B. He, inconsistent, but when he's good, and he has a lot of NFL traits. Should get drafted probably 3rd, 4th round. We have Shea Patterson for Michigan, putting him in D tier. Not gonna lie, maybe the most overhyped player last season. Was not impressed at all in any of his performances last year. He looked way better at Ole Miss than he did at Michigan. And I'm kind of thinking Harbaugh's a little bit overrated. I mean, he's supposed to be developing these QBs, and Shea Patterson last year wasn't anything special. So again, if we revise this halfway through, he could be C. But for right now, what I saw wasn't overly impressed with Shea Patterson. We have next up Brice Perkins from Virginia. I'm going to put Perkins, I'm going to put him in D tier. Nice playmaker for Virginia last season. Not enough hype. 6'3", 210, 2,700 passing yards, 25 TDs to 9 picks. Also had 9 rushing touchdowns. Nice dynamic dual threat type player. And again, maybe like Shea Patterson, we revise this halfway through. If I see a little bit more out of him, could be C tier. We have Nathan O'Rourke from Ohio. I'm going to put him F tier. Much as he's Canadian, which is awesome. I want to be biased, but he's going to be one of those guys just, dual threat. I'd love to see him go to the CFL. That'd be pretty dope. He's a great rusher. I think for his career, he has 37 career rushing touchdowns, but as a passer, pretty limited. We have Nate Stanley from Iowa. I'm going to put Nate Stanley in C tier. A lot of NFL traits, protective of the football for the most part. It's just, I just want to see a little bit more. It's like je ne sais quoi, if you will, to make it continue with the Nathan O'Rourke Canada thing. Is there something about him that just doesn't really make me a believer? But if he starts out strong with Iowa, could get him to B tier. He will get drafted, but right now I'd probably have him as like a mid-round pick. We have Tua Tagovailoa. He's going S tier. Again, kind of like Trevor Lawrence, same negative thing against him. He's the best wide receivers, debatably, in college football. But I love his mechanics. I love his throwing mechanics. And I think, he's 6 feet tall. Maybe not prototypical NFL size. He's gonna be a legitimate top 10, top 15 pick. And I think he's a gamer. He's a challenger. I like him. I like him as a prospect, which is weird to say because I usually hate everything Alabama. We have Khalil Tate from Arizona. I'm going to put him at B tier. It's a little bit frustrating last year because he was so dynamic. He's pretty much Lamar Jackson 2.0 2 years ago. And then last year, they tried to make him a passer. They tried to make him a pocket passer, which I thought was so dumb. Why are you limiting your best weapon on offense to, pretty much not let him run? But I mean, if they can let him run a little bit more and scramble, he could be a nice little sleeper bet for a Heisman contender. But there's just too much of a gamble whether or not they're going to let him do that. We have Zach Thomas from Appalachia State. He'll just go F tier. He's just, your limited college QB, 6'1", 200 pounds. He can win App State some big games, some big upsets and stuff like that. But might be undrafted free agent in terms of the NFL. Next up, we have Keaton Thompson. Probably butchered that first name. I only ever heard him say Thompson when I was watching limited tape, but I like him, man. Mississippi State, 6'4", 225. A little bit of a dual threat. So for right now, I'll put him D tier, but his stock is definitely trending in the right direction. And then we're finishing up with Brady White from Memphis. And for right now, he'll go D tier. That could potentially be C. Had some pretty big games last year. Good NFL size, 6'3", 210, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. It's Memphis, so Memphis usually has some pretty decent numbers at QB. Saw Paxton Lynch, and I can't remember the other QB they had last year. Where is he? Is it Cincinnati? He's on Cincinnati or something like that. But QB friendly scheme just a little bit. He's not a bad QB though. Should have some good shootout performances next season. So there you go, guys. Those are my college QB tiers. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section below. Did I miss someone? Did I miss someone that you were just absolutely triggered at? Let me know. If you want to see more college football positional ranking videos, let me know in the comment section below. First time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed, and until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.